shack, in the field, in the shack, in the shack, in the field, in the shack, in the field,
This is actually funny because for years I told this story. So basically I read War and Peace, and so I read War and Peace and just completely fell in love with it. And specifically this particular 70-page section. I remember I read it all in one sitting and was at the very end of it, the final paragraph where Pierre sees the comet, I just had tears running down my face and was just so completely moved by it. And I remember finishing that section, and it's like basically comes up like exactly halfway through the book. And I kind of closed the book and I just thought to myself, that is a perfect musical. It was such an immediate thought that I just what one section of the book was completely perfectly structured like a musical. And at that time I wasn't even writing musical theater. And so at that time I was just kind of a freelance musician. And the story that I told for years is that I had read it while working on a cruise ship, that I was playing piano on a cruise ship, and that my girlfriend at the time, that we were reading it together as like a way of staying together during the cruise ship. But then the girlfriend and I finally went back through our emails and found out that that's completely false. I wasn't on the cruise ship. We did read War and Peace together, and we read Anna Karenina while I was on a cruise ship. But I read War and Peace while I was just living in the Bay Area. So that's just a lie. And I told that lie to probably 30 different reporters.
I have read that lie.
Yeah, it's totally a lie. And I really stumbled very slowly into theater and into musical theater writing specifically. It was not, I'd done a couple musicals in high school. I acted in a couple and played in the pit mostly. But in college, I didn't really do theater at all. I played the piano in for the summer musicals, but that was it. But I really just kind of fell into theater little by little. I got asked to play piano actually by Josh Pollock, who's a shotgun player. I was working at Amoeba Music, and this is in 2000. And I was working at Amoeba, Josh was working at Amoeba, and he heard that I played piano and he needed someone for the show Get Me Rod Keith, which
Get Me Rod Keith.
Yeah. And so he just asked me to do the show, and I just moved to San Francisco, and I was like, sure, I'll probably meet some new people. That sounds fun. And it was fun. And then that director asked me to do her next show, and then eventually got hooked up with the Banana Bag and Bodice people through that director, through Meredith Eldred. Mm-hmm. And then my first couple of Banana Bag and Bodice shows, I was really doing more sound design, underscoring, but then I think one of the shows, they wanted a song. And I was like, oh, I could write a song. And so I wrote one song. And then I think the next show I did, I wrote 2 songs. And then little by little, I was like, I'm kind of writing musical theater songs. And now that I think about it, I was totally raised on musicals. My family, we would watch movie musicals all the time, The Music Man and My Fair Lady and Sound of Music. They're in my blood, they're from early childhood. So then I was just maybe I'll just write a musical. And so I think Sandwich, which I did, was a show I did with Banana Bag and Bodice, was the first proper musical. I mean, it was only 40 minutes long, but that was the first thing I was yeah, I think I just wrote a musical. And then I guess also, speaking to your original question about how did it hit me now, seeing Pierre's struggles with depression and with the world, through the lens of, having just been through the last election and the protest of last summer and just COVID in general, it was definitely pretty moving. Yeah, to see, I feel we're kind of in this time where it's basically the entire globe is in the middle of a depressive episode, and it's just kind of or
we've all been Pierre locked up in our studies with our books.
Exactly. Yeah, and I feel so, I mean, for me, when I think about theater as a spiritual practice and the joy I get, the joy is so much in the rehearsal room. Once I'm in the rehearsal room, with those people and, creating things together and laughing together and or fighting together, doing things that we're passionate about. That to me is actually the biggest moment, that even more so than the performances. I mean, I love performing too and seeing audiences and how they react to it and, going out for drinks afterwards. But it really is those moments of creation in the room. And so I just kind of hold that as okay, soon I'll be able to do that, because I feel all the other stuff, the pressures and the deadlines, that's all just happening over email and in my head and here in my studio. So it's it's a different thing. I mean, I definitely still feel all those things that you were saying. I do feel the kind of the pressure of the deadlines, and the pressure has gotten bigger. And sometimes it does feel like work, oh God, I gotta write this song. But then I will, and I guess there is another spiritual thing that happens, and I'm a horrible procrastinator. And like when people say that I'm prolific, I'm just like, that is such a lie. Because like I know how much time I waste, like I know, and I know like, crazy, like Stephen King or someone who writes 3 books a year. Like I'm just
True.
But then so like finding, so there is like a private spiritual moment too that does come in the writing of a song, but it's very hard to access sometimes. Sometimes I'll spend months just avoiding it, just waiting for that moment to be kind of swept away, and then suddenly the music just comes flowing out and the words come flowing out, and like look at the clock and it's 8 hours later, and like so I live for that moment too.
Yes.
But that is the moment that I will say, like as I've gotten older, has become harder to find a little bit, and I think some of that honestly is because I actually make money from it now, and just the fact that I'm like I haven't worried about money in the way that I had to worry about money in my early 20s, and so it's sometimes I feel like a little too comfortable, honestly, and I know like there's like a lot of pushback against the idea of like the struggling artist, and that you have to be like crazy to be an artist, and and I know that's a myth, but there is a part of me that does remember that feeling of being in my early 20s and really, just like grasping at things and not knowing how I was going to make ends meet. And then like having that 3 hours of like extra time, like, oh my God, I can write a song now, and being so excited about it. So I struggle with trying to re-access that kind of youthful energy. And in this experience, I was visited by, several demons and other figures. And at one point, a demon like looked at me and said to me, "Your specialty is inner struggles, not external struggles." Like he was speaking to me as an artist, and I realized that, when I really look back at my body of work, like it's actually all about mental illness. Basically, like it's all about just people like struggling with, mostly depression and other things like that. And I think that is like where my true like artist heart self can speak most to the world and can do the most good. And I think in Moby Dick, I was trying to like be like political and an activist and do these things that I think other people are just doing so much better than I ever could. And so that was a real like moment of me like kind of reframing who I am as an artist. And